First of all, my name's Charlie Giles. If you haven't come across any of my material before, welcome. I'm looking forward to having you in my community. Please like, subscribe, have some comments, say hi, let me know where you're from, all of those things. Yes, please, you're welcome into the community. So every month I try and find, someone who has an interesting story, someone who's either in my network who I've worked with previously, who I've come across in a course that I did and I found was interesting. And I'm just working on sharing these people with you. So that's it. That's what I'm doing. And I love it. I love having these conversations with such beautiful, interesting souls who are doing amazing work. Today's amazing soul is Cynthia. She was born in Peru and she obtained her bachelor's in art history, mythology, and symbolism from the American University of Paris, France. She enjoyed a 20 plus year career in the New York City art world, and she's been studying Western astrology since she was a child. She was always fascinated by the cosmos as well as the wisdom practiced by her ancestors, that everything is connected. Absolutely, yes. The year 2020 brought her the ability to reconnect with her Peruvian ancestry and to be trained by Dr. Alberto Bitaldo, founder of Four Winds Light Body School. I hope I got that right. And become a certified ancestral shamanic energy practitioner. She later completed her facilitator embodiment training through the School of Cacao under the guidance of Michael and Mackenzie Fairson and focused her knowledge through the Mayan Wisdom Project. Today, Cynthia is the founder and owner of Hathor Cacao, which you can find at hathorcacao.com. Please let me welcome to you and invite Cynthia into our conversation today. Hi, Cynthia.
I am here so super happy just to be with you, Charlie. And,
Oh,
from
thank
the
you.
first moment that we met, like it was probably a year ago now at this point. And we met, of course, through Sacred Planet and Jocelyn and us having that time together. I always just felt so deeply connected to you. And it's just so special when that happens in a reading. And I've told my brother about you because he was in Australia until very recently. He's
Huh?
like, hey, so whenever you're in the air, I think you guys were different parts of Australia.
Right. Of course, yeah.
So now he's now back in his work, like traveling different parts of the world. But I was always like, if you're ever in the area, let me know to connect you with Charlie. So I love all the work that you do with plant spirit
Oh,
medicine.
yeah,
And of
thank
course, I
you.
love learning about your connection, deep connection to cacao. And I feel like these beautiful plant spirit medicines have kept us connected. And
Mm.
somehow our consciousness has stayed connected so that now with the Waka Monte Grande and everything, and how you were so quick to connect with what was happening there. So I'm so grateful for that. And now, with everything that you're doing with Karen.
I really want to thank you for connecting me with Karen. For some of the people who might be watching today, they might already know, or they may not, but they may already know that I, sent out a bit of a story around what's happening with the site in Peru. And it was just through the connection with you, yourself, and an email that you sent. And then I
Mm.
was just immediately like, oh my gosh, everyone, the whole world needs to know about this. We need to help. We need to connect. And as I was talking to Karen, because as you said, you connected me with Karen, and she talked to me about the project, but also that incredible connection with Cacao. It the way it resonated with my heart because of how much she has helped me. Like she was
Mhm.
really helped me so much in my healing in ways that I can't even always put words to, but she was like that gentle mother nurturing that I would have if it was huge and impactful, if it had been like a mother energy coming at me saying you need a mother's hug, I would have pushed it away and said no, I don't want that. But she did it really gentle with me and very kind of, I'm not going to let her know that I'm doing this, but I'm just going to sneak in some love and compassion and have her connect with her heart. It was just, she's been doing that with me for a long time now, and I just am so grateful for the healing that Cacao has given me, and also helped to completely reframe my connection with chocolate, which was probably an unhealthy connection,
Mhm.
in the way that you would eat chocolate, that, unknowingly, and in the form that it was in a way that you didn't kind of care how it was wrapped or made, or whereas now that incredible gratitude for, the medicine, and then how you consume that medicine. So yeah, I would love if you could talk a little bit more about the site in Peru, and your feelings and thoughts about that too. I think it's an amazing story.
Oh, thank you so much, Charlie. I love listening to you talk about cacao just now, just how you described it and her energy, truly, because it's exactly as you described. It's not like a forceful energy or like an energy that is like you have to do that. She's just very gentle, very magical, and like such an elegant weaver. And she comes into you and she just does her magic, and it is all of that archetypal energy of the Great Mother and all of these beautiful ancient traditions that have that archetypal force. So cacao is the embodier of that force, just the energy that comes in and nurtures you in a very delicate, so beautifully elegant way, truly. Those are just the words that I connect with her. And that all of a sudden she creates these little shifts, little by little, and all of a sudden, like a year later, 6 months later, you find that your thoughts are different, your heart is different, your creativity has evolved into a different level, and it's her just working with you. Just this beautiful, I always find her like a gateway medicine as well, to the master plants. It's like you being connected with plant spirit medicine. We have all of these, gentle spirits that work with us from the plant world. Like you can have chamomile coming and just she's very gentle as well, and she might work with our dream world, our relaxation. And I feel like cacao is somewhere there in the middle, right? She's like a gateway then to the master plants, to ayahuasca, to wachuma. And it's like the more sometimes you work with these energies, and when you embark on those like master plant experiences, you feel like more prepared, more open to just all of a sudden all the gateways to be open there. So I love how you described her. And yes, now going into the Huaca Monte Grande, just as you were saying, the connection with chocolate. Right. So for me, cacao has always been a part of our family traditions through my grandmother, my mother. It's, very traditional sometimes in all parts of the world, but in South America, we just connect these traditions with, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So, for example, just my mom could not have a Christmas without just that rich artisanal chocolate and having it with us. And we would always start the new year with like that cup of cacao, like, at the very start. But it was that just artisanal cacao, just always connected with this pure cacao from Peru or from Mexico, of course, Guatemala, and all of these places. And it was just part of me, but never truly looking into the spiritual qualities of it. It was just such a rich, pleasurable, physical experience. And then as it you know as we got into 2020, and when I started connecting with my Peruvian ancestry and the shamanic healing arts, around that year of 2020, a friend of my brother's happened to send me a little bag of ceremonial grade cacao. And when I experienced that first cup for the first time in all its purity, then I could understand that there was something even more pure, because ceremonial grade cacao is just pure intention. It's taking care of that pure sacred tree and all of her sacred transmission, right? From the moment they get those seeds and the hand methods in which they grind them, they never touch a machine, which is so important for the ceremonial cacao process. And of course, just the intention and using the whole bean, which sometimes with the chocolate making process, they separate the cacao butter from the cacao. And so you don't have its full nutritional value when you're eating a piece of chocolate. No matter how amazing it may be or like fancy or anything, but sometimes it's separated. So with ceremonial grade cacao, it's all there, all of the nutritional power of that beautiful seed. And then of course they do these hand methods, and it also makes a difference where that cacao comes from, so that if it comes with that original transmission, it's beautiful and it's powerful. And so one of the places that contains that sacred transmission of the cacao tree is the Amazon. The seeds that come, I mean, of course, from Guatemala, Colombia, all of these places. But for me, being from Peru, I was just very curious about the trees that were being born from that place in which cacao originated. So little by little, because of my friendship with Eduardo Lanfranco, who is the owner of Cacao Suyo in Peru. And this is a chocolate. I mean, Cacao Suyo wins best chocolate in the world year after year, gold awards, silver awards, but it is a chocolate making company. So he is the one who pointed me to the work of Quirino Olivera. Maybe this was about a year ago. So let's say the fall of 2023 or so. And he told me, that Quirino was doing all of this research in the Huaca Monte Grande, and that he had been invited to be a part of some of the people invited to be a part of these discoveries. So little by little, he shared with me, and I also through my research on the internet, just finding more and more. And I was just very interested in learning about the origins of cacao in ritual and practice in Peru, because we all know, of course, about the connection of the Mayans. And I received my cacao facilitator training through the Mayan Wisdom Project. But of course, being born in Peru, I was just very interested to know what was happening. So you know how it is with intention. As your mind focuses on something, something is calling you to that. And then right around September, one of my dear friends, Janet Sager-Knott, and we were connected through the arts, but also through the shamanic healing world. And we met in 2020 as we're both part of the same graduating class of the Four Winds. So she knows of my passion for cacao. And she sent me the interview with Jack Ide and Karen Gordon. She's like, Cynthia, listen to this. So I'm hearing the voices after, just researching so much, and I'm hearing Karen Gordon speak, and Jack Ide just helped, asking all of these questions. And I was like, wow, so beautiful. And listening to Karen speak was just such a joyous experience with her voice that communicates that voice of cacao in such a beautiful way. So I immediately felt called to reach out. And I said, Janet, this is amazing. So Jack himself, he connected me to Karen and said, you guys meet. So Karen and I started the connection right away. And then from there, with Karen's support, I wrote that email, we put it out together and sent it out, to because I immediately wanted to be of support to this Huaca Monte Grande project for Quirino, for Peru, for cacao, for the ancestral world history that these discoveries have. And so thankfully, you were one of the beautiful recipients of this email. And I'm so happy that you've since connected directly with Karen Gordon, and that we're all part of this project to continue discovering what is the rest of the discoveries of Huaca Monte Grande going to mean, and what it means for us as a humanity, that cacao has been there for centuries, helping us to connect with so many different things within ourselves and with the cosmos, the earth, and so many different things that our ancient ancestors knew this deep value of cacao. So I find that fascinating.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's part of the story that I was just mesmerized as Karen was explaining that, to be able to have proof that cacao was used thousands and thousands of years ago already in a medicinal way, but also as an offering, as a gift because of its value, and knowing that there was magic already in these little pods. And then even as she was explaining about the spiritual aspect around the site itself, and I remember just saying to her, it really feels like, because the time, even though they have been working on it for a little while now, obviously it's been 10 or 15 years or something,
Mhm.
but for it to kind of be coming out now, right? Becoming this, even though it's from a challenge, from a space in time that's saying, look, we might lose this. It's actually bringing everyone together and connecting people by saying, hang on, no, there's this mother kind of instinct and there's mother intuition and this mother feeling of saying, no, this is the time we need to teach people, that cacao is there for our hearts because we all need to connect with our hearts and we need to connect with nature and understand that because it's such an also a good example of the commercialization story, right? As far as, how that plant medicine has always been there. We've just commercialized it and then disrespected it and not realized that it's actually from the plant. In the same as tobacco, as you would know with Peru and the difference between sacred tobacco and cigarettes and things like that. It's kind of like that part of that story as well, which I really thought there's so many things that can come from this that can help people, take the blinkers off and say, hang on a minute. I do reach for chocolate a lot when I feel the need for something or I pick me up or I want to feel better about myself or I want to say I'm sorry or I want to say I love you to someone. It's a gift that you buy or you want to there's so many things that we ask cacao, we just don't realize it through chocolate
Mhm.
to change, to come from a heart. It's a message from the heart. And
Yes.
we're doing it anyway. We just haven't realized. Imagine if that was done with such sacred reverence and in a different way, the significance of the power, as in the magic, that would enhance that. I get so,
Yes.
yeah, I love it.
That is so, so beautifully said. The magic of chocolate, it's there, and we've all experienced it truly. And however we have, and just as you said, sometimes a little box of chocolates that represents love or I'm sorry, forgiveness, whatever it is that you're intending, that is the magic. It comes from the cacao tree after all. Right. And that's how it was, just for me, it was like a passion for chocolate for so many years. And everywhere I visited, I just always had to find out the best place of, just where is the best chocolate store here. One time, even just being in Paris, in Saint-Germain, who that has so many chocolate stores, I did myself a little map. And I'm like, I'm going to go to this chocolate store. And it was like my chocolate tasting tour that I went. And it was like, oh, just delighting in the pleasure of good chocolate. Right. And then, of course, that passion to find always the best chocolate just evolved into this passion for ceremonial grade cacao. But it's the love and it's the nurturing love of the great mother. And it's the loving energy that exists and is transmitted through so many different cultures. And that's for me like how Hathor cacao was born. Because and if you think Hathor cacao, what do these things have in common? Right? They're both represent the archetypal energy of the Great Mother, because Hathor in the ancient Egyptian temple was the goddess of love. The goddess, she was represented by the cow, those beautiful the fallopian tubes in a way. So she is the ancient archetypal energy of the mother. And so that when you're, feeling that energy, if you're in Egypt or in the temple of Hathor, you feel that nurturance and that soothing energy that she is. And so for me, it was just connecting the two energies of the mother, and just blending two different traditions. And just the further back we go in time, the more we see how all of these traditions and the knowledge sometimes all comes from the same place. The other thing that I found so connecting between the two is the energy of the great serpent, which is in cacao, right? Because it is the energy of Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkan. It's that serpentine creative energy that comes into us when we experience a cup of cacao. And through the energy, through the research of Dr. Allison Roberts and everything she explored about Hathor and what they practice in her temples, it was all about the rising of Kundalini. So Hathor and cacao, meaning Hathor and Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkan, that represent that winged serpent energy that is cacao, is like something that allows you to fly and connect to that rising of energy that you experience when you have that purity of a cup of cacao with you.
I just kind of thought for people listening, because I know some people that follow me are very new into the medicine world, especially into the plant medicine world as well.
Mhm.
Um, And cacao, I feel like, is a beautiful first step kind of
Mm.
place because it's generally already something, as we've talked about, something that people know about. I mean, chocolate, obviously. And and I know for myself, it was different for me a little bit because I didn't make that big step with cacao until I was already in the plant medicine world. And my maestro was kind of like, you're doing a dieter, and I had to eat it off the block, and it was actually really horrible. And I was so excited because he said, you're going to diet cacao. I'm like, oh my gosh, it'll be the first thing that's actually delicious. And it was awful, but
Yeah.
so it was a bit of a challenge. So I was kind of introduced to it differently from there. But I'm wondering if maybe you could help people, in a way that if they wanted to make that change and started to do something differently with their relationship with from chocolate to cacao, and how they might be able to do that in a simple practice.
Yeah, of course. So really what I can share is how it came to my life, right?
Mm,
And how it shifted all of a sudden something. And
mm,
so for me, it was truly just experiencing the intentionality with which a bag of ceremonial grade cacao makes a difference. So, and this all happened, again, it was in the fall of 2020. And as we were all having that quiet time, quiet space, I was beginning to connect with that shamanic energy medicine training through the four winds. And it was a friend of my brother's who, at the time, knowing of my passion for chocolate, she said, I'm going to send you a little bag. And this was like, it was like close to Christmas. She's like, I'm going to send you one as a gift. So she sent me a bag of cacao, Cacao. And this is the cacao from, Mackenzie Marslove, because she's so deeply intentional and with what she brings to the world with that cacao. And so she did a tiny little ceremony for me with cacao at that moment. And so she connected me with cacao. She said, "You got your cacao?" And I said, "Yes." And so she's like, "Okay, we're gonna have your first cup of cacao together." And so I did. She told me, make your cup of cacao. So I go and make my cup of cacao with love, just excited to experience it for the first time. And at that moment, she said, the first three sacred sips of cacao are the most important ones. So she said, just, take a deep breath and blow in your intentions into the cacao. And then just take a breath, So that is something shifted in me the first time I intentionally connected with cacao in that way. And then now as I'm speaking with you, I remember a moment even 2 months before that. And this was when the energies, because the energies are the ones that come in and start connecting you with that. And I realized this is the moment where it began. And so I was in the middle of my shamanic training, and every Saturday we would all meet as a class to let's integrate what we learned this week, let's talk about and all of that. And it was a group of us that would come into those Saturdays and just talk about. And so as we were going through the learnings of each of like the modules, one of the modules we were going to be connecting with the energy of Quetzalcoatl. And at that moment, I suggested, how about, since we're going to be talking about Quetzalcoatl, how about we do it with a cup of cacao? And then at that moment, I don't know where this came from, but at that moment, I just, did a little invocation of this cup of cacao. And what happened in that circle was just something, with the energy of Quetzalcoatl and cacao, which I believe then later connected me to this beautiful gift that my brother's friend was sending to me, and how she instructed me into like, this is the energy of cacao. This is how it happens. I'm like, so little by little, these things just started happening. So the invitation, I would say, is the number one step is to find ceremonial grade cacao, whichever place it is that you are connecting with. And there's so many beautiful providers. There's Cacao that I just mentioned, the Mayan Wisdom Project, Nana Marina's cacao, Keith's cacao, Cacao Lab. and I mention these names because these are all the people who are the guardians of this cacao, who are bringing this cacao to the world, have made such a sacred commitment and have such a deep intention to honor the transmission of the cacao tree, so that they have these key components where they like source their cacao sometimes from the original cacao trees, where they use the whole cacao bean so that you're receiving the full nutritional value, where they don't use machines to create the cacao as in it is, with mass-produced chocolate. It's all by the ancient methods of hand grinding the cacao so that it comes to you with the pure transmission. And they're also very intentional. For example, some of these companies, they do ceremonies before they release this cacao so that when you receive it, you receive it in its fullest vibrational quality and connection with that tree. So I would say that the first thing is just to order your first bag of cacao and to just see how it makes you feel, and how little by little you'll see like the difference between drinking a cup of hot chocolate, as so many of us do, and it's so delicious, and drinking a cup of ceremonial grade. And again, ceremonial is just another way of saying it's been the transmission of the sacred cacao tree has been honored, and you will truly feel the difference. And it's something that goes in, helps you begin connecting with your inner world. And it's all the magic that begins to arise in your creative capacity that starts to come alive with the consumption of that cup of cacao, ceremonial grade cacao.
As you know, as you go along the shamanic path, there's more and more things that you need to usually sacrifice and give up, especially in your diet and in the way that you consume things. So for me, cacao has been such a blessing because it's the one thing I'm allowed to have that's kind of still, it's obviously it's good for me and I take it with respect and it helps me. It's my medicine rather than the way that I used to consume chocolate in more of a, the way that I was doing it intentionally wasn't good for me because it was more of a destructive way of eating it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, but now, because I have it so mindfully, in the different moments where I might be out or if I have some just kind of commercialized chocolate, it tastes so different and really not very pleasant. It's kind of like, how did I ever eat so much of this when you have the good stuff now? It's kind of like, oh, I've really ruined my whole chocolate world of being able to eat just any kind of chocolate. It's very different.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're so completely spot on in the way you describe that. It is, you almost just perceive it as candy,
Right.
not like
Yeah.
it's not like a nourishment.
No.
Like a nourishment for your body, as like a cup of beautiful cacao feels like it's like you're taking in nourishment. Every single part of your body feels it, your emotional body, your mental body, your spiritual body. It's a whole vibrational quality that goes into your system that's so different from just eating the chocolate.
Mhm.
Again, maybe that was just meant to spark the love of it, the connection of it, but it's nothing compared to like the full nutritional value that you experience from having that cup of cacao, ceremonial grade cacao, and its full nourishment.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking, I would actually love to share with you the it's part of the origin story of my relationship with cacao.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting because it wasn't the dieta part was the second part of the story that I had to do. And I'm sure this would be of interest to you because it's very shamanic.
Mm.
Um, when I first started in my healing journey, and I was very dark and struggling with apathy, like I didn't want to feel anything. My heart had been broken many, many, many times,
Mm.
and energetically, I had gone to a shaman and he had said, look, there's actually no energy. Like you don't actually have a heart chakra. It's like there's nothing there. It's just void. It's just dark. Yeah. And
Wow.
and we kind of I had this image in my head of a like an underground basement, kind of cold and dark, and there was barbed wire and this kind of grisly, angry thing in the corner that nobody kind of spoke to. And that felt like the chamber of my heart for quite some time. And
Mm-hmm.
it was cold and miserable. And then interestingly enough, I went to another shaman and just like not really saying anything. As you do, you kind of don't really explain anything. You just like, here I am, how can you help me?
Mm-hmm.
And they had mentioned that I'd rewired my entire chakra system to avoid my heart. And I was taking the main energy my main energy from my root chakra. So like really impressed as to how I had done that, because not something that people usually do. And obviously I didn't do it intentionally, but obviously subconsciously from a survival mechanism, because I just knew I needed to exist somehow. But I just wanted to make sure that there was no feeling in my heart. I just did not want to connect to my heart. And so then I thought, okay, and obviously the whole thing was, well, how do I fix this, right? And there
Mm-hmm.
was a part of me that didn't want to, a very huge part of me that didn't want to. I thought it was cool. I was like, great. Well, can I just go along in life not having to feel anything? That would be awesome. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. And surely probably not your path. But and then so what happened was I went to and it was all plant medicine. I went to ayahuasca process and retreats and things. And that started the healing journey. But and the reason why I'm trying to make it short is because there's lots of strings to the story that go off in different tangents. And it'd be a very long story. But the part of it where came in was that when I first met my maestro Alberto Garcia in Peru, he was like, "You're taking all this medicine, but it's not staying in you. It's not holding. You're leaking. You're like a sieve. It's like it's not going anywhere." And I had to do a ceremony. He had said, you actually don't have a container.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing there to hold anything. So this is going to take a ritual for you to ask for the spirits to recreate a container for you. And it was really, I thought, wow, yeah, I'm like, wow, this is. And there's lots of ancestral stories to this as well. I'm not sure whether you knew, but from my father's side, it's my Aboriginal grandmother, and she was a medicine woman, my great grandmother. And there was lots of ancestral healing, lots of heartbreak, lots of children being taken away and removed from families. So it really felt like as I went through my healing process, I could see this the story coming together that I was not only creating a heart chamber, a heart cup for myself, but it was for my entire family. It was for my entire ancestral family.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that ceremony that I had to do was offering cacao to the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just remembering how beautiful it was. And I had to do it by myself. I had to find the part of the ocean that I wanted to do it at and offer this cacao. And there was a couple of other things that I offered and ask. But I had to, because that was the important part. The intention was that it had to be that I really wanted it back. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to become very, clear with myself. Is this something? Because it was scary for me.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously given it away out of fear because I just didn't want to feel anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to be able to ask for it back and have the courage to ask for it back and really mean it um, was where that kind of ritual came in. And it was beautiful. I cried lots of tears, but I just knew that, my intention and my ritual had been answered. And that's why when I came back, he said, you need to do a data of cacao to kind of just honor that and connect with her and know that you then have your heart chamber. And she can be the first medicine that you take in that you actually keep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Charlie, what a story. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
it's
for sharing
quite
that.
a story. I haven't actually shared that publicly before. It's
Oh,
but it
sure.
just felt like the right time to share how plant medicine can be so many different things. There isn't just one way that plant medicine will work with people. I think that's why I started to think of that. It was like, well, cacao is so special in so many ways, but it's also, well, what do you need, right?
Mm.
What do you need in that, yeah, in wherever you are in your healing journey? I mean, I would never have thought that I didn't actually have a heart. I was like the Tin Man, right? I didn't have a
Mhm.
heart.
Yeah, exactly. That
Yeah,
is such a beautiful, powerful analogy.
yeah.
And it is, just like you said, sometimes it is safer. It feels safer to disconnect from the heart and just feel, the walls that you have to build sometimes. And the heart has so many neurons and it connects us with everything, with the pain, with the grief, with the deep processes that the soul sometimes has to go through. And these processes can be so deep that sometimes we disassociate from them. And, in the shamanic practices, then the soul departs, as they say, which in psychology it's called disassociation. And we have to call those parts back in order to feel them integrated back into ourselves. And cacao is such a beautiful supporter for that, to just she guides you back into feeling, back into emotion in a way that feels safe. And then she's like, don't worry, I got you, but you got to feel again, and you feel yourself feeling again in a way that feels protected and caretaken, as if by a great mother. So you feel safe and feeling safe in the emotional world again, calling that soul lost part and integrating all of your heart chambers.
Mhm.
And I also loved how you described this experience with the water, because, of course, there is such a beautiful connection there between how that beautiful seed becomes activated with the water, right? As we heat that cup of cacao and we drink it, it's a combination of the two elements right there. And so I love how you made this offering to the ocean, because the ocean is the great mother as well. She is there like the womb of the world in so many different ways. And it connected me to the spirit of Yemanja, the spirit of the ocean, which has so many different names by so many different traditions. But last summer, I grew up in Brazil and I hadn't been back in Brazil for a long time. So it allowed me to be there in those ocean waters and the shores of Brazil, just deeply connecting to the spirit of Yemanja. And I was there just sitting in those shores, drinking my cup of cacao and connecting to her spirit. And it reconnected me to my child essence and the child I had been, fully feeling, fully embodied in that heart energy. And it was the spirit of the water that reconnected me back. And then from there, so many things happen, but you're so beautifully intuitively connected by saying that something very deeply special between cacao and the ocean. Cacao and Iemanjá, for example, in the Brazilian traditions. And the moon, of course, because Iemanjá is also connected to the moon, and so is cacao. Cacao, grows at nighttime, is guarded by the animals of the nighttime, is the word is it's like fertilize in a way, but just kind of like that germination of the cacao pod and the seed happens with the animals at the nighttime. So she's very much connected to the bat, also, of course, to the quetzal, the jaguar, and all of those beautiful creatures, very feminine. The dark is very much connected to the energy of cacao, just like corn is connected to the day. Cacao is very much connected to the nighttime and to supporting those processes of sometimes the deep dark that we have to go through. And so she guides us through that. So that connects so beautifully with this experience of your heart and having to go into the void of your heart to find yourself again, even your soul again. But she was there to open you and guide you through that void and bring you back into the light. How beautiful.
Mhm.
Thank you, Charlie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's lovely. I feel like that's really helped me connect that story as well. So I appreciate that. I didn't know that about the nighttime part as well. That makes so much sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's also a
Yeah,
protective nature around that as well. That
yeah, it's
yeah. I
the
mean, a mother's
duality.
protection is very, you don't want to you don't want to mess with the mother's protection, do you?
Oh, yeah. The deep dark feminine is very much the energy of cacao. And in the Mayan traditions, they talk about this duality between corn and cacao, and how corn is the plant of the day. It grows in the sun. If you see like the corn husk, it faces upwards,
Yeah.
towards the sun. So it very much connects us to the body, and it's germinated. That's the word I was looking for, by the animals of the day. And cacao is the opposite. If you look at the cacao pods, they face down towards the earth, down towards the feminine. It grows with the moon, and it is pollinated as well by the animals of the nighttime. So they're of duality, and how they're both important forces, the
Mhm.
energy of the light and the energy of the dark, complementary forces, because it's from there that everything is created. And we need the darkness, we need the void, we need those places of just not seeing anything, or apparently not seeing anything, in
Mhm.
order to create. Kind of like the galaxies or the black holes and the galaxies that emerge from that, right? It's like that void inside your heart. It's the void of grief sometimes. It's it's what grief feels like, a deep, dark, black hole in your heart that sometimes we can't avoid, right? And it's like all of these solar systems and everything spinning around like that. But it's from that and tuning into that deep, dark black hole that new galaxies emerge and new light emerges. And we need sometimes a little bit of support to connect with that void. And
Yeah,
cacao is such a beautiful supporter that guides us into that deep dive into the void.
definitely. Oh, I love all of that. I love that so much. I love how you've languaged all of that and that pathway. Um, because that, I mean, that's exactly how I had become that space through grief and loss and abandonment and all those things. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just so much pain that eventually you're like, no, I can't do this anymore. I'm not. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to switch all of this off, and I just don't want to feel. And I feel like, there's a lot of that happening in the consciousness in the world today.
Mm-hmm.
It's all too much. We're all going through different phases of loss or grief or too muchness, right? Too much feeling of overwhelm, uncertainty, insecurity, all of the things that make us question, you know, what am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I suffering through this? When is it going to end? And so
Absolutely.
with that big kind of void and trying to cut off feelings, I think that's where you can dangerously go into disconnection. Because that's definitely the path that I was headed. I was very disconnected. Um, and now that and the way that you've languaged that has helped me understand too that yeah, it's the little steps like healing. There's so much pressure on everyone, get your stuff together, get healed, face your trauma, get through this, start doing the work. And that on top of where the world is today seems huge and exhausting. So maybe in our conversation, what we've brought as a small solution to people is the fact that cacao is a beautiful first, step where she's still incredibly powerful, but she's also someone that you just need to know deeper, you need to reconnect and know her in a way that she's actually there to help you
Mm.
and to not just numb something, become another way of switching off. She's actually there to help support. And I feel like now that she's not only given me a heart chamber, but she's lined my heart, right? So I feel like that now, the little bits of because it took a long time to, step into the idea of feeling things. I didn't just suddenly go, oh, great, I can feel things now. It was terrifying. And
Mm.
as you so beautifully put, it's learning that you can do it safely and it's
Mhm.
okay. And she's right there. Um, so yeah, thank you so much. That I really appreciated that the way that you've languaged all of that and brought her into this story and into this space of something that's really, it's not like, you need to go and do some great big journey to access her. and to start helping.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Charlie. And truly it's just as you were saying that it all starts with just a little cup of cacao and seeing where that takes you, seeing what that begins to open up for you. And then little by little, you start developing your own practices, whether it's just once a week, for example, just having that quiet, meditative time with yourself, just going in and seeing what you and that cup of cacao start creating. And then from there, seeing where little by little those spaces go. But you are so right. And just as you were speaking, I was called to look up this quote by Carl Jung, which, as you were saying, and I'll read it here, it says, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And it is a difficult thing sometimes to have the courage to do that, but it is the only way by going to those places of the underworld that we can truly emerge victorious back into the light. And so many ancient traditions have this, this journey that you must undertake into the underworld and reemerge. And Cacao, again, is such a beautiful supporter. It's like you feel her angel, like Quetzalcoatl wings there, like guiding you through this whole process and inviting you to have the courage to dive deep into what you'll discover there. And sometimes when you go in deep, you'll find that there is a lost soul part that's there, that's crying, that holds all your sadness and holds all your grief. And she's been crying for years, and she's actually been the one manifesting your whole experience. And when you start realizing that it is that unconscious part of you, it is that lost soul part in the end that is generating your whole life, that you haven't been listening to, and you're like, why isn't this happening or that? It's because deep down inside, that part of you is crying because we haven't listened to that part. And when you go in to really, really listen, that's when you begin to integrate that lost soul part, that part of you that brings you back into wholeness. And then whatever your life is and it starts to become from that point on, you know that you're creating it in hand with your soul, in hand with that lost soul part, that's not lost anymore, but that becomes integrated into who you are. So that's why with the shamanic practices, one of my favorite things to practice are soul retrievals and going in deep. And that's actually what we practice right now in our last cacao circle that we did. We went deep into the journey of a soul retrieval. So we did a collective soul retrieval at that moment. And that's a lot of what I love to practice is the combination of cacao in connection with that subconscious realm. Because truly my passion behind everything that I do, whether it's the study of the arts, the study of cacao, the study of the shamanic healing arts, Jungian depth psychology, and all of that truly is to tap into those places of the subconscious and the unconscious that are truly the commander of our whole existence. That no matter how much we may sit with our journal and like write intentions with our conscious mind, if we're not truly connected to what's happening in the subconscious, then, it's like our intentions are just almost like from the mouth out. But that's what cacao helps you to do, to go deeply in, tap into your subconscious and create from there.
Perfect. What a perfect way to close our conversation. As much as I know that we could talk for probably days.
Yes, exactly.
I just love how it has been a beautiful conversation that we've had and a beautiful story. And I really appreciate the way that you've explained everything. And I believe really helped people to understand it on a deeper level. That, we're not just, it's not just people talking about sacred cacao now as a different way to have chocolate,
Right, right.
Yeah,
You're
there's
so
a real
right.
depth to the medicine. So I would love,
Absolutely.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I'd just love to, in case, people would like more of you, your services, did you want to let everyone know how they can find you and what else you offer?
Thank you so much, Charlie, again for this opportunity to have been with you. I'm so happy to have had this opportunity to talk about cacao, truly for the first time. Really, I mean, we've been
Really?
connected through cacao for so long, but it was the first time that we've had to go so deeply into the meaning of cacao in both of our lives and how she truly comes in as this nurturer to help each and every one of us, whoever wants to invite her in, whoever is willing to open their heart to this beautiful, benevolent energy, that she's there and she is ready to connect with you. So yes, I mean, I would love to meet you and thank you for watching this conversation. And yeah, I do my practice through Hathor Cacao. That's my website, Hathor Cacao. And so for me, the birth of this idea came also through my Andean shamanic training and being in the Andes. And in the Andes, they have this incredible connection through their practices of Yachai, Munai, Yankai. And when I was there in the Andes last year, just deeply connecting to the Andes of my childhood, just these three words kept coming. As I was there, we were in this beautiful sacred ritual with Wachuma. And of course, before going there, I had been deeply connecting with my cacao, and the mountain just kept telling me those three sacred words, Yachai, Munai, Yankai. And so as I came back from that trip, I was like, right thought, right feeling, right action. So what are the three things that are connecting me to that? Cosmos, cacao, and connection. And so that is my practices in astrology, my practices with cacao to connect with the right feeling, practices of astrology to connect with the right thought, and then the right action, which is that connection through the shamanic healing arts. And so that's what it is, my three areas of practice, cosmos, cacao, and connection. And so I am happy to be, with you, whether it's to connect you with your soul's blueprint, with it, which is your birth chart, or through the circles that we have every month. And our next one is on December 1st, actually, and that's going to be for the new moon in Sagittarius. And it's there, right there in the events section of our of the website, Hathor Cacao. So I would look forward to welcoming you if that's how you wish to connect, and to just, if you wish to learn more about cacao, there's a cacao section of the Hathor Cacao website, and there you'll have so much information that I've, tried to put there as much as possible to read more about cacao, just to get you started.
Love that. Perfect.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Charlie.
it's been an incredible pleasure. And thank you for your time and your wisdom. And yeah,
The same to you. Thank you for your beautiful, soothing energy. And I've learned so much from you, dear Charlie, about your connection to the plant spirit medicine world. And I can't wait to be in Australia one of these days and to be with you in person and to be on a beautiful journey together with cacao and other sacred plant spirit medicine. So thank
well,
you for the
thank you.
beautiful work that you do.